Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out the Scales podcast. As you may or may not know, Japan Nationals is quickly approaching. It is set for June 22nd, and we are here to bring you our top picks for the 1A division of JN. There are 6 seeded players, and we also have 4 non-seeded players to talk about. And our first player is Hirotaka Akiba. He placed second at JN last year, second at AP, and fifth at Worlds. So, what do you guys think about his odds for JN?
I think he is definitely a sleeper pick. He's always so underrated in how well he does, and it's because of how clean he is. I would definitely put him in, the top five or something like that. But for him to do better or get top three or even win, um, he would need to do bigger kinds of tricks, which I guess he's doing now. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm curious to see him try out some of his newer tricks that he's been doing. He did some new combos at North Japan and in a video he released, like a 2019 video he released. I definitely think he's a pretty solid lock for top five, but I'm not sure if he could convert it into a win necessarily. But definitely will be curious to watch his freestyle.
Yeah, Hirotaka's a top five lock for me. Um, I think of everybody that we have on our list, he is one of the most experienced players. So I think that the JN stage won't be intimidating for him after he's had so much success on the JN stage and across the world over the past couple of years. And as Mark said, he just goes so clean. He's top five lock for sure.
Yeah, Patrick, you actually raised a really good point in that because out of the players on this list I have, Hirotaka has definitely been competing the longest out of all these people. I believe his first time in JN finals was like 2011, so it's pretty
Hmm.
impressive. Next player is Ayumu Harada. He got third at North Japan this year and fourth at Japan Nationals last year.
Yamimu is so interesting, and he's in such a weird place right now. I have no idea how he'll do. In 2019, he's been trying a lot more weird, new, and very hard tricks. If you look at his regional freestyle, but they're way too hard for him to hit properly, and I think everyone can agree to that. Um, will If he goes clean with these newer tricks, I think he could get top three or even win. His new tricks are really good, but it's just the fact of the matter that those tricks are just so hard, and I don't know or I can't gauge how well he'll do them.
Hmm. That's definitely a good point. I think what I really want to see from Ayumu is him merging his older, more slacky technical style, maybe a little slower of an older style too, and his kind of fast-paced, horizontal, difficult new style. I think if he can figure out a way to work those two styles together, he could have a really good shot at like maybe even top three.
Yeah, I think Ayumu Harada is. I would have him in the top 10 for JN this year. I know he got fourth last year, but I don't know if with his new tricks and how hard they seem, it really depends on how much he's been practicing and how well he's refined those tricks. I think that basically the level to which he has refined his tricks will dictate whether he is successful or not at JN this year. And so for that reason, I think I would have him in the top 10.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. For me, Ayumu is like the hardest to predict out of all the players on this list. Next up, we've got the other Ayumu. That is Ayumu Kasuga. He got second at Central Japan this year and 12th at Japan Nationals last year.
I think Kasuga is also hard to place because you never really know how clean he's gonna go. He has like extremely difficult, fast, and impressive tricks. So I think either way, if he goes clean or is sloppy, he's definitely gonna be like a crowd favorite and probably a favorite of mine to watch. So I'm really excited for his freestyle.
Yeah, one of Kasuga's biggest flaws is that his tricks are just so high energy that he can't even keep up with them, and so it affects his execution score by so much. Um, I think he's starting to realize that. If you look at his recent regional freestyle, he's pared it down a little bit. He's a little more methodical about how he goes with his tricks. And so if he continues that even further for JN, I could see him doing better than he did before. maybe even top 7 or something like that if he went really clean.
Yeah, I think for me, Kasuga is definitely a contender for Extreme Trick Award. Um, he definitely has some of the most extreme tricks in Japan, and definitely the world too. I would say his tricks are just so RNG that I don't know if he could could pull off the win. I mean, maybe if he hit everything, he could pull off the win, but it'll be really interesting to see the kind of energy that he brings to the stage because he really has a pretty unique style when compared to a lot of these other competitors in terms of the amount of energy that he brings to the stage and the extremity of his tricks and how difficult each individual trick is. I'd feel comfortable putting him between like seventh and third.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that he's kind of outlining himself to be this generation's Iori. Although he hasn't really reached that success on contests yet, Iori was a similar player to him where he never had the best of luck at JN. Both players are obviously extremely good at yo-yoing, so I think there's always that potential for Yuma to be out on top. Maybe not win, but maybe get top 5. So it really just all depends on how clean he goes. But I definitely agree with you guys. Um, and then next up from the non-seeded players, we've got Yuki Nishisako. Yuki got third at Worlds last year, but he usually doesn't do too well at JN. His highest he's placed there is ninth, I believe. What do you guys think about Yuki?
Well, I think Yuki's gonna win, but
Mhm.
I think he's gonna win just because he hasn't had as much success at JN in the past. But I don't know. I just have a good feeling about this year that somehow everything is just gonna click for him, and he's gonna pull off a really great freestyle and get the win. It really depends on the kind of freestyle that he chooses to do. He's definitely a player who can use songs with really high energy or songs that are sort of more laid back and make both freestyles look really cool. So I think it really depends on what he chooses to go with. But if I could predict someone to win, I would pick Yuki to win.
I think Yuki is easily a contender for first. Uh, Even though he has had bad luck at Chan in the past, I don't think that really discounts his tricks or his performances, because I think anybody who watched his worlds would know he definitely has the capability to win. So I definitely will not be surprised. I would not be surprised to see him win, but I wouldn't even be surprised to see him in top 3 for sure.
In my opinion, Yuki's also my pick to win. He placed the highest out of all of the Japanese players at Worlds besides Takeshi, and Takeshi's not competing at JN. So I think Yuki's clearly defined himself as one of the top players in Japan. It's just him hitting that clean freestyle there. Um, Next up is Akira Namba. He won West Japan, so he seeded to finals, and he placed 16th at JN last year. How do you guys think he'll do?
He has a pretty original and dense style, a lot of difficult slack tricks. So I would not be surprised to see him in the top 10, especially after seeing him do great at West Japan. But uh, I don't think he'll be in the top 5.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment. His tricks, although he's one of my favorite Japanese players, they don't translate well to the Japanese stage that well. Um, and so he would have to kind of pick up the pace in terms of performance and kind of incorporating elements that score in a more oblique, like in a more transparent manner to do really well.
Yeah, definitely. I think Akira will have his place as having like one of the cooler freestyles at JN with more unique tricks, and I think that's
Oh,
cool.
definitely, yeah.
Next up is an interesting contender. We've got Toru Miyazaki. He won East Japan and he got eighth at JN last year. How do you guys think he'll do?
In my opinion, I'd say he's kind of like he's my sleeper pick to take the dub, because I mean, I think he had maybe his best freestyle he's ever done at East Japan. Uh, I really think he has some super refined and amazing tricks, and I could see him, if he went really clean, I could see him definitely on the top 3.
I somewhat disagree with that sentiment. I think although he's so good, he's gonna have one of my favorite freestyles. I don't think that his tricks are, or the tricks that he's doing this year are enough to beat out the likes of like Shion and Ryuichi for first place. That is, I think he'll do really well, but he'll have to like pick up some kind of different trick elements and kind of vary his style a bit to kind of appease the system a little more.
Yeah, I actually definitely agree with Mark on this one. I think that Toru would be like my sleeper pick to miss top 10 of this list.
That's true. I think he's definitely going to be in top 10.
I think he will be between 8th and 12th. And probably have one of my favorite
Yeah,
freestyles.
also one of my favorite
be between
freestyles.
8th and 12th.
So I'm gonna hold a position closer to Remy's on this. I think Toru's EJ score kind of shows it. He honestly might end up being comparable to those high tier players like Shion, Ryuichi, Yuki, etc. Because he got a 60 tech at East Japan, which means that he beat everyone there. And I feel like it's kind of we aren't really able to assess how he'll do against the others yet because his style has improved a lot in the past year. Maybe I would say probably more than Shion and Ryuichi. So who knows? He might be closer than we think. Next player is Izuru Hasumi. He won South Japan this year and he got fifth at JN last year.
Izuru could do well on the basis of evals, more likely than on the basis of like scoring in first or something like that. But I could see him pulling out a pretty solid routine like he did last year and landing in that like fifth, sixth, seventh range again.
Yeah, honestly, his freestyle last year was pretty sloppy. So I feel like he does have the potential to score around where he did last year again, or maybe even higher. Who knows? He's definitely more of a like random player to consider in those because his style isn't as unique, maybe. But I think he definitely has a chance to do well still. Next player is Kohei Nishimura. He won North Japan this year, and he hasn't had the best of luck at JN. He is yet to break top 10. He's been in finals 3 times at the event, I believe.
He
What do you
is
guys
one of
think?
my favorite players for this contest. I'm really excited to see how he'll do. He's been on a tear this year in 2019, and he's gotten so much better. I think that he's finally reached the point where he's breaking out of this like below top 10 or like above top 10 placing, and I think he'll do really well at JN, given from his performance recently. He has a lot of new tricks. He is going a lot cleaner. He has much better performance. He's really stepped up his game, and so I'm really excited to see how he'll do.
Yeah, I would say for me, Kohei would be top 3. I think maybe top 3, maybe top 5. Definitely up there. Yeah, one of my favorite freestyles from Japan regionals. Yeah, if he does a freestyle of that level or comparable, I think top 3 is definitely attainable for him.
I kind of agree with you guys. I think he's improved, maybe the most improved on this list of people. He's really he has like extremely difficult tricks in almost every throw of his freestyle, which means if he hits his tricks, I think he's definitely a contender for top 3.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm kind of saying like I think he's top 3 mainly because like if you just compare him to like every other player who we talked about except for Yuki, I think he beats every other player who we've
Or
talked
he has a
about like
chance to beat
1v1.
them.
yeah. So we are down to our last 2 players. Next up is Ryuichi Nakamura. He has been on the podium at JN for the past 3 years, and he also won Central Japan this year. How do you guys think he'll do?
I think Ryuichi is an obvious favorite to win. He's always been so close to the first place podium prize, but there's always been some standout player who's kind of just like taking it away. He, I would put him in the most probable place to get first, aside from the previous JN winner. And I don't know, he hasn't changed so much in the in this recent year, but it comes down to like how he'll do at the contest that day, as well as what he's planning to do for performance.
I agree with you. I think Ryuichi is in this kind of funny spot of like he's always up there, but he can never quite have that like last little boost to take the dub, and it's gonna be. I think he's gonna need to put something a little bit extra in if he wants to win this year, whether that's performance or like an extra trick or whatever that would be. He's definitely a top contender.
Yeah, I am like so confident in putting Ryuichi in the top 3 just because he's already been on the podium the past 3 JNs, and is the only person who has done that. But I don't know. I honestly don't know if I think Ryuichi will win JN. Like he might just be cursed.
I kind of agree there too. Anyways, our last player is the reigning Japan national champion Shion Araya. How do you guys think
Well,
he'll
I
do?
mean, Shion is obviously the most favorite to win. Two-time world champion, JN champion. He's had some bad luck with JN in the past, and I think his structure of tricks and the way he presents them is starting to show a little bit of age, but he's still on top, and it's hard to refute that.
I'm extremely excited to see Shion's freestyle because, unlike previous years, he did not compete at North Japan this year, so we haven't seen a freestyle from him since Worlds, and likely whatever he does at JN, he's also going to do at Worlds if he follows that same model. So I think he's obviously like the top person to win based on winning the past 2 years. So
How
I'm curious to see his freestyle.
how crazy would it be if like Shion just came out and did like an all tech
I'll be so
freestyle?
excited.
I
That'd be so
really
crazy.
honestly, ever since like 2017, I've wanted to see him like switch it up. So I honestly hope he does.
I think Shion is probably like the safe favorite to win just because he's won the past 2 years. But yeah, so those are our top 10 contenders. There are a few players who are notable but not competing this year. Those are Arata Imai, Ryota Ogi, Takeshi Matsura, Yamato Murata, and of course more. This will definitely be an interesting JN. I'm stoked for it. How about you guys?
So stoked.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
excited.
Woohoo.
Thanks for listening to this podcast, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks.